Hello and welcome to the Rangers Rabble podcast. This is your pre-match build-up for the Scottish Premiership match between Rangers and Motherwell. Plenty to talk about. Not least the team, which was a bit surprising as it come out. So we'll chuck the team up in a second. We'll also hear from the manager, hopefully, once he speaks to Rangers TV. But first, let me introduce everyone that's on here with me. First off, we've got Craig, repping the one of the better tops, I think, that Castor have ever released for us on their redemption arc. How are you doing, Craig?
All good, mate. The cold for a couple of days, so just getting over that. But apart from that, all good.
Good stuff. And Connor, I feel like I'm on every bloody pod with you at the moment. How you doing?
It's been a busy old time, aye. Not bad. Looking forward to getting into it, and hopefully I was getting 3 points today. That would be nice.
That is the plan, anyway. You have to bear with me a little bit because I was in a bit of a rush myself after picking the kids up a bit late from my mum's, and I didn't get a chance to do the team. So I'm just trying to do that in amongst saying hi to everyone. So the man is going to give me enough time to finish it off. James, haven't seen you in a while, my friend. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, mate. It's good to be back on. I think last time I done a pod, mate, with you was a few months ago.
While back, at least. Yeah, really well back. Yeah.
Mate. No, it's good to have you, mate. The confidence was up again after a good performance on Thursday night for me. I think the last kind of 10 minutes of the first half, and I think we came out in the second half, mate, and played a lot better. I think the first 30 minutes of that game was kind of sore to watch at times with the slack passing and stuff. I thought as the half was ending, we came on to a game and we came on and obviously got the result. So hopefully, mate, we'll kick on for today and we'll pick up the 3 points and a good performance.
That's the hope. That is the hope indeed. We're going to just jump straight into this, everyone. Hello to everyone in chat, by the way. I've been heads all over the place, so hopefully Rangers are going to settle me down with a nice early goal today. But hello to everyone in chat. Stick all your comments in. Always good to see everyone talking and all the regulars in here, as always. But we are going to jump straight into the manager's comments. The manager spoke to Rangers TV just now, so this is courtesy of Rangers TV. But here's what he had to say pre-match for today's game.
Michael, we'll start on team news today. 3 changes to your squad. Can you just talk us through those?
Yeah, 2 enforced. Unfortunately, Tom Lawrence has an issue, and probably we won't see him for the next 2 or 3 games. Unfortunately, he felt good when he came off the pitch. Thought it was just cramp, but it's the next day had a reaction. Kamar, we just need to manage, but he's available to come off the bench and play reduced minutes today with the schedule we've got coming up. And one decision we've made just in mind for this game that we might need a dribbler in the team. And so we took Seema out for Scott Wright. But the rest of the team's got a nice look and feel about it. There's a bit of consistency, which is important for sure.
Yeah, obviously as Motherwell in the league this afternoon, how much do you hope the squad can take momentum from the result on Thursday and the results since coming back after the international break?
We need to keep that feeling going. We need to go again. We need to play with the same passion, energy, work ethic, drive in terms of our energy on the pitch, and add another 15% quality in possession, I think, and stay with the ball a little bit more. The atmosphere in the stadium in the second half in particular was fantastic. The whole feeling about the night was good, and we want to start where we ended off on Thursday for sure. It'll be a different challenge. We know Motherwell are unbeaten in 7 or 8 months away from home, I believe, but it's important that they feel the full strength of Ibrox and Rangers today.
You touched on it being a different challenge. What do you expect from Motherwell?
Very good defensively. It'll be a 5-4-1, and they look to counter in the moments they can down the side of our centre half. So it's important that we're high up the pitch and aggressive in transition, but that we really work their back 3 or back 5 as much as we can with our passing, our dribbling, and ultimately our running off the ball. It's important that we run off the ball and cause them problems.
Stewie's just dropped out, so I think I'll just kick on. Connor, what do you see for the manager's comments there?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think given the team that he selected, especially put Scott Wright in there, being a surprise, we're kind of wanting to know why he's made that decision. Somebody that obviously enforced if Tom Lawrence, we know he went off looking a bit gingerly the other day, so clearly that's had to happen. But no, when he says he needed a dribbler in there, so that's why he's brought in Scott Wright for Seema. Is Seaman not also supposed to be a dribbler? Is that not also supposed to be something he can do? It feels to me, and we were saying this when we had a chat before we come on, that it looks like he's sort of ditching parts of his philosophy now. The narrow approach and changing it to go more wide, and use that pace, which is fine. I don't mind that. I just have concerns when a player like Scott Wright comes into the team who's no kicked his own arse this season. We're asking him to start again against a Motherwell team who, as I have mentioned before, haven't lost a game away from home since February, and then have been in pretty good form at the start of this season. So, I wouldn't take that for granted just because you're at home, because Motherwell will pose a threat. So, I do think he's taking a risk. His comments didn't really answer it for me, because that means nothing to me. We need a dribbler. Well, it's every football player there, isn't it? Surely can dribble away a ball. So, yeah, it'll be interesting. If Scott Wright has a howler of the day, then Michael Beale's going to have, I think, serious questions to answer after it.
Yeah, hopefully I'm back. I don't know. I cane everyone for internet issues, and then I don't even know what happened there. I think the all of a sudden the app just refused to grant permissions to my mic and camera, maybe because of the sharing the Rangers TV stuff. But that's obviously the team that we mentioned earlier, so we will just run that up along the bottom of the screen for everyone. So we're going to obviously get more into Scott Wright. I'm going to say that's Craig in a second, but the team today is Jack Butland in goal, the usual back four with obviously Davies continuing in his role, Lundstrom and Cifuentes in the middle. It looks to me like a three in front of that midfield of Matondo and Wright out wide, and then Lammers playing the number 10 role behind the returning Cyril Dessers. Obviously, Connor's touched on Scott Wright a little bit, Craig, but we're going to stay there because he's obviously it's the big call of the match so far. Scott Wright in from, cold. He's out the North Bowl. He's that cold. I can't believe someone that's not literally. I don't believe he's kicked the ball all season. Has just come in from nowhere. We talked on the better spot about, is Michael Beale just being a dynamic manager by putting in wingers for Betis and just seeing that was how we hurt them. It now is starting to maybe insinuate that he's just scrapping this narrow formation and deciding that he does need wingers, and we can use the only thing we've got because we didn't strengthen enough in those positions.
Yeah, I'm hoping we'll all use the reverse psychology trick here and he'll have a blinder, but Lazarus has seemed to returned. Scott Wright a couple of months ago was sort of out the door, and I think the only reason, well, probably the two reasons, was because no one would wanted to buy him. Secondly, he obviously fits the Scottish quota. So if we'd had have got rid of him, we wouldn't have been in a different place, because we'd have still had to leave a gap in the European squad. It just seems to be like coming out of nowhere. Like, I can understand if Seymour or Matondo play, because they at least have been in and around the squad. I could even imagine sort of Lammers being pushed out wide or something like that. But this is a boy that hasn't played, as far as I'm aware, hasn't played a minute of football this season. Even in some of the preseason friendlies, he wasn't really around the squad. So it does seem a bit strange that he's thrust back in. And like Connor said, if the manager's putting him in because we need a winger, then surely there are other players in the squad that are able to dribble with the ball.
Yep, make sure I'm not on mute. Yes, absolutely. James, just looking at, he's mentioned the first international break a couple of times. I guess this is the second international break coming up in October, where we hope after that we're going to. Well, we know Danilo's going to be coming back to non-contact training after the first international break. He's putting these words in my mouth now, and I can't stop saying them. The second international break, Danilo will be back in non-contact, and hopefully, another month after that, maybe he'll be back. He's also mentioned that's the time that we're going to give Lawrence to come back as well. So Lawrence now has a sort of just under a month, I guess, to get back up to sharpness. We're not going to risk anything. Could Scott Wright coming in just be, Michael Beale now thinking, well, I'm going to give more minutes to more players to just purely to cover the injury scenario at the moment?
I think it might be that, mate. But for me, I think it's a toss-up. Obviously, Simmers certainly no hit the heights that we all expected him today. So Wright can't be any worse. Although I'll probably say that, mate, and he'll get in he'll be absolutely shocking today. I've always rated Scott Wright as a player. For me, he's one of the players that if he's on it, and I know he's not on it that way, but he does look as if he's not scared to take the ball and actually run at people. He's not one of these wingers that will run, stop and turn back and pass the ball back. He'll actually go and commit defenders. He'll win you fouls in and around the box as well for me. And I just hope the boy comes on the day and actually plays an absolute blinder. And good luck to him. He's obviously, as I said, we've seen a hell of a lot worse this season. It's obviously, at times, I think Simmer doesn't know what he's doing. With a ball at his feet. So I think obviously bringing Scott Wright in, he is that cold. I think he could have come straight out the morgue for me. But I hope the day the boy comes on and plays an absolute blinder.
Yeah, I mean, listen, he's certainly got talent, Scott Wright. We've seen him. I'm about to say we've seen enough in flashes. We haven't seen an awful lot, but we've seen flashes of Scott Wright and what he can do. You know, he's certainly in that cup run. He had a great sort of second half of that and really pushed us on. His pace can frighten teams if he uses it. He doesn't use it enough for me, which is a bit annoying because he is absolutely rapid and he can go past players. It's, you know, kind of one of these things that I know a lot of us are writing off just because we haven't seen him in a while. But when we have seen him, he's flattered to deceive at times. But you know, you look at players like Ben Davies and even Lundstrom went through it before. You know, we write some of these players off and then they come back. I mean, Scott Wright's got it all to prove, and that could actually, you know, be a benefit to him because sometimes that's all you need. You need people to write you off before, you know, it really turns your season around. It could be that it doesn't work out for him, but, you know, although Seam has been involved, you know, he's involved in another goal. He's like James said, he's hardly, you know, certainly either for Rangers. So it's not like we're taking out a bang informed player to bring Scott Wright in.
Yeah, look, if he comes in with that chip on his shoulder and he plays almost angry, really, you know, to prove if he feels that maybe he should have been given more of an opportunity, maybe he's got more to offer, then today's the opportunity for him to show that. Because I don't know how many starts he'll get out with a day. If he doesn't perform well, I would suspect not many, unless we're playing, I don't know, Elgin City in the first round of the Scottish Cup or something like that. So he's been given that opportunity. I think we all hope that he will perform because, as I say, if he doesn't perform and he has a bad day, unfortunately for him, all that criticism he has been getting will just amplify even further, and will then transfer onto the manager. Because as you say, look, Seaman's no banging form. You know, nobody would claim that. However, he has been playing regularly in the side, so he would be more match sharp, you would think, than Scott Wright. And so making that change, and don't get me wrong, there's part of me that goes, if we had a Kieran Dowell fit, if we had, you know, Todd Cantwell, Raskin, you know, the players that we've got out injured, would Wright even be starting? Probably no. It would most likely be one of those players that you would expect to be filling that role. We might even have a different formation. So that's played a factor. But, you know, I always say it, if you're given that opportunity, take it. Because see, if you don't, then, you know, it's only a matter of time before he's then got to move on and start looking at options. Because we can't have a team with passengers in it that you've got to carry along that won't come on and perform for you, that you can't rely on. And I'm not saying Wright is that right now, because he has come on and he's had some good moments in games and fits and starts here and there. And I did say that right there, he's certainly got pace to burn as well if he uses it properly. But my problem with Scott Wright is that to me, from what I've seen, feels like that's all he's got is pace. There doesn't seem to be quality in his end product. And his decision making sometimes ain't great. Sometimes he goes too long with the ball and too far, and then he can't play a pass, or when he tries to play the pass, he's trying wonder passes instead of just doing the simple things. So it'll certainly be interesting, to say the least, to see what he'll do today.
Yeah, I was going to go into the whole winger debate as well about, you know, you mentioned there about the impact that Wright has. I've always said this as well. Scott Wright's one of those players I always found when he come off the bench, he made such an impact on games, and Matondo's been doing that at the moment. And it's the question, can they bring that impact into starting a game? Craig, we've got to go on to the rest of the team because we're already running out of time. Most of it is the team that picks itself, as always. But Lammers comes in for a start. Then he's sort of fallen out of favour a little bit recently, but he come off the bench against Wright, and I thought was one of the catalysts to change the game for us. Big man proves that exactly what we saw in pre-season. That, you know, his intricate passing, his cleverness, his quicker thought, and just, you know, there was one that I think he brought down out the air where the guy's gone for a header and he's almost looped his foot up there to just control it down. He's got all the skill in the world. Maybe he lacks that little yard of pace, but I don't think he really needs it, in all honesty. But again, like Scott Wright, he's another player that's got a big chance to prove himself and put himself in the manager's thoughts going forward.
Yeah, I think I agree that he did seem to change the game the other night, and maybe it was a game that was more suited to his skill set, a European game rather than a domestic game. I think he's just getting settled, and hopefully this now will give him the likes of Lawrence Cantwell being out, might give him a good run of games, and hopefully will give him that confidence to sort of put himself in the team and say to the other players, right, it's my shirt now, you've got to get it off me. But yeah, I was really impressed with him the other night, and hopefully being at home, it's going to be one of those games where he'll have a lot of the ball, and all being well, should be able to then put his stamp on the game. My only worry with Lammers, which I've seen against Kilmarnock and other games, is if he gets a tough tackle early on, he seems to shirk out the game a little bit, and sort of seems to not fancy it. And I'm just hoping that today he can have a good start. So in the Livingston game, he had a good start and obviously scored a goal. I'm hoping we'll get that Sam Lammers today rather than the Kilmarnock one.
Yep. Let's hope for a big performance for him. And James, the other man that's come in for Kemar Roof today, could also really, really do with a big performance. He's absolutely Marmite with the fans. Some wanting to give him a chance, some writing him off already. Cyril Dessers, you know, is a guy that I think certainly gives his all on the pitch. I see a few people saying about him being quite lazy, but I don't see that myself. I think he certainly doesn't look the quickest. And whether that's because he's been come back from injury, I'm not sure yet. But he does hassle defenders. He does chase people down. He tries to force the mistakes for the rest of the team. It's just such a big game for Dessers today. And I think as long as we can get people in and around him, I think the likes of Matondo and Wright using width and using pace, hopefully getting balls into the box, and then we can see what Dessers is really about.
Aye, for me as well, I think Dessers is absolutely fantastic in there. The amount of balls that this guy wins, flick-ons and stuff like that, he really needs somebody up there working with him. So as you said, either Matondo or Wright coming off him and getting onto these flick-ons, because I can't remember what game it was, and I think he won 90-odd% of the headers. So I think for him, a good couple of goals under him. He's not looked the quickest, but he does look as if he wants to harry defenders. He will trouble people. And for me, I think obviously today, if he can get a couple of goals and get his confidence up, it will do him and the team the world of good.
Yes, absolutely. What else have we got? 10 minutes until kickoff. We've got a little bit more to go through. Let's move on to the bench then. Connor, Michael Bill mentioned earlier in the week, before the Betis game actually, that Bailey Rice should be playing a big part for the team this season. And he also gave a shout out to Zach Lovelace to come in and help out. Certainly, I think while Danilo is out injured, done exactly that today. Rice and Lovelace both on the bench. I mean, if the game's going well enough, I think it's almost a guarantee that we'll see Bailey Rice. Maybe if the game's not going well enough, if Bill's true to his word that he really, really trusts this guy. Are you expecting that if it all goes to plan and we get a couple of goals up, then we give Roof the day off and Lovelace gets to come on up front as well?
I'd like to see that because I'd like us to be comfortable in the game. And to be fair, I do think giving Roof a day off without him having to come on would be ideal. Knowing his injury problems, you don't necessarily want to see him have to play every game, so that would be good. And these young players, I don't see any reason why you wouldn't bring Lovelace or Rice on if it's going well, and you're a couple of goals up. And as you say, to touch on your point about Bailey Rice, Michael Beale says he trusts this boy a lot and really bigs him up. So you can make a strong case that, well, okay, if you do, maybe it's not going well, given the injury problems we've got, do you try something different and bring Bailey Rice on and see what he can offer you? Because that would show a lot of trust in him in practice rather than just saying the words. Because you have to have trust in a player to think you can bring him on to change a game if you're needing it changed. So who knows what will happen? It's all, I think, good experience for the young players anyway. And yeah, we've got to look at the future because we keep saying it. These players. One of the great things is if you can build somebody through your academy and you turn them into a top player or close to it, you can then sell them on potentially and get millions. Or alternatively, you keep them at the club for a long time, and they do brilliant things for you. So you've got to give them an opportunity at some point, and maybe that'll be the day.
Mute button playing up for everyone. Yes, absolutely. Listen, when you look through that bench, it feels a lot stronger than it did against Real Betis. But of course, we had to put more on the bench against Real Betis. But it certainly looks stronger in general. Obviously, Craig, we get Ridvan back on the bench, so another option at left back, which is always good. John Suter, for Soapy, is it just a case at the moment he's just got to bide his time and wait for his chance to get back in? Listen, it seems that Goldson is never going to be the guy that's going to be dropped, I think, unless he goes through the most horrendous form that you'll see from a Rangers defender. I think he'll always get the benefit of the doubt in terms of the back two. Ben Davies, I mean, I wasn't on the reaction to Betis, but I would have been waxing lyrical about him. I thought he was absolutely superb against Real Betis. But it's just as important as having a massive game, a great performance in a massive game. It's just as important to come back to domestic action, stay switched on, and keep this place. Because although I feel a bit sorry for John Suter because I think he's an excellent defender, it benefits us in the long term to have quality behind what's on the pitch. Because we've got to keep pushing the players on the pitch.
Yeah, I'm torn because they did all play really well the back four on Thursday. And part of me does want that continuity of them staying together, and obviously with Butland building that cohesion at the back. But then similarly with the game coming up, maybe the game Wednesday will be the one. I thought with the game coming up Wednesday, this one might be where like maybe Ridvan and Suter were to come in and then bring Davis and Barisic back on Wednesday. It might be the case that they play today, play really well, and then Ridvan and Suter get a chance on Wednesday night instead. My worry continually is that as well as they're all playing at the back, they are liable to get an injury, and then you are pushing somebody in like a Suter or a Ridvan from the cold if they've not played in 4, 5, 6 games. So I'd like to see maybe if the game's going well as players coming on up front like Rice and Lovelace, then Ridvan and Suter can get a bit of time as well today.
Yeah, that's hopefully the plan, especially like you mentioned, we've got busy month ahead, more than a month ahead. It's really busy. We've got today's game, of course, like you mentioned, Wednesday we go back to the Cup, which you imagine you're going to see a few changes there, as important it is to win that as well. And then some big league games and of course Europe as well. We're going to start to wrap this up then because approaching kickoff very quickly. So let's get some predictions in. So if everyone could chuck their predictions in the chat, chuck in your score and your first goal scorer, please, and I'll bring them up on the screen. I'm going to start with James. What's your score today and your first goal scorer? Okay.
I think we'll win 3-0, and I'm going to go Dessers, mate, with the first goal.
There we go. Love that already. Connor, what about yourself?
I think we'll win 3-1. Thanks, Dougal, for agreeing with me. Scott Wright isn't scoring, Camden. I think we'll win 3-1, and I'm going to go for Rabbi Matondo to get the first goal.
Rabbi Matondo. I try not to bring too many up until they've done their predictions, just in case you can influence a little bit. You see a score and it hits in your head. Craig, what are you going for?
I reckon Rangers 2-0. I don't think it'll be 3 or 4-0. Rangers 2-0, and I'm going to go for Jose Cifuentes to get the first goal.
That's a big shout. Craig was I think were you spot on last time I gave you a prediction? Was it the 2-0 Danilo one?
Yeah, 2-0 Danilo at St Johnstone.
There you go. So get your bet straight on what Craig's just predicted there. I was going to go for 3-1 as well, but I don't want to pick the same. So let's go with. I'll go 4-1 then. We'll get one more, and I'm gonna go captain James Tavernier is going to score from the spot, open scoring, and all over Twitter will lose their mind about how all the refs are in our favour. That's what I'm going to go for. So we will end the pod there. We will be back straight after the game, of course, with the live match reaction. I think we've got the exact same cast, just making sure I don't miss anyone on the scores. But yeah, we'll be back the exact same cast. So join us then, hopefully for another 3 points, and the recovery of Rangers this season will continue with Scott Wright and Dessers having an absolute stormer. See you there soon.